Hello again. Today we'll be diving into the throat chakra to understand how it fits into your relationship with money. If you haven't listened to the first 4 episodes of this series, the root, sacral, solar plexus, and heart, I strongly recommend you listen to those to see how they fit together. This series of 7 episodes will give you a strong foundation for a framework that I've created to help people improve their relationship with money, to understand the root causes of the challenges that come up, and to begin shifting things in your favor. Whether you've struggled with not having enough money, or you've got plenty of money, but you realize that there's still a lot of fears about money that you're dealing with, then there is something here for you. The chakra centers each govern specific aspects of your physical, psychological, and spiritual being, and can only be truly discovered through personal experience and working with them. What we're trying to do here is give you at least enough to think about, to play with, to consider. You might listen to these episodes multiple times because each time you listen to them, you may take something new away from the conversation. What we're trying to do is create a state of balance between the chakras and within each of the chakras. And the idea is that this is the key to the health of the various body systems that they govern. In other words, imbalance and blockages of these centers can lead to problems in the physical, psychological, and spiritual sense of our being. And by learning more about them, you learn how to repair them, to balance them, to clear your own personal energy, which allows you to step into your own sense of wholeness at a whole new level. And what this leads to is this complete reintegration of all parts of you into a whole and complete being. In understanding how this works, practically speaking, we must dive even deeper into the chakras so that we can have this understanding of how money plays into the chakras. It's a great tool. It's a great way to learn because I think we're all very practically focused. So this takes the esoteric, ethereal teachings of the chakras and makes them more practically applicable to the life that you're living. So, with the throat chakra, we're talking about the expression lens. It is about moving into a sense of self, about who we are and how we're expressing ourselves into the world. Disturbances in the subtle energy system prevent us from fully experiencing ourselves deeply. And so, when we want to have a more satisfying relationship with money, this is very, very helpful because it's reminding us of our truth. And I also want to mention that this has come through many years of study and contemplation. And I do my best to try and explain something that's very esoteric, and it's not always easy to explain. So I encourage you to listen, not just with your mind, but with your heart. So normally when we struggle with money, we think we have to do something practically and we have to address the problem financially. But what I've learned is that when we can dive deeper into the root causes of those challenges, we have a much better chance, right, of changing our way of seeing that challenge, and then how we respond to it rather than react to the challenge is a huge part of leading us towards success rather than disappointment and sometimes failure. So the expression lens, the fifth chakra, regulates how you feel about yourself and your connection with your highest truth. So much so that you can express your truth into the world and speak about it with great compassion. If you're struggling with this chakra, you may worry about your ability to act in your own best interests as it pertains to money. You likely experience one of two extremes: lack of trusting yourself and others, or overly trusting yourself, kind of like a blind faith without having the knowledge and wisdom. So you either gravitate to people and you don't ask enough questions of them because you don't trust yourself, or you are so focused on like taking care of everything, even though you probably could be better off getting some help and some assistance. A blocked throat chakra can contribute to feelings of insecurity, timidity, introversion. And on the other end of the spectrum, an overactive chakra can lead to just being so controlling and so kind of aggressive in our demeanor about handling things. And we're looking for the balance with all of these. So it's located at the base of your throat. It's sky blue in color. It corresponds to the thyroid and the lungs. The chakra regulates creative expression, and while it can be a challenge for a lot of people, it's important to focus on mastering the lower chakras first, right? So that's why I started with the root and I worked the way up from the root and the sacral and the solar plexus, the heart, and now into the throat. It's also associated with characteristics like communication, verbal and nonverbal, the connection that we have with the divine and the etheric realm, the more subtle realms of spirit and our intuitive abilities. It's about realizing your purpose. It's about having a good sense of timing. And as this comes into balance, you start wanting to trust yourself more while aligning your core values and your beliefs with money. So everything's kind of coming together. It's a lot of integration. And we'll talk about that even more at the brow level. But you're beginning this sense of integration with the practical and the divine. This transformative process can lead you to selection of strategic partners and advisors who are aligned with your values. The more you know your own values, the more you're able to put that out into the universe and say, these are the people that I want to work with. This is who I know can support me. And we become more firm and strong in our conviction because we feel so good about our expression and our ability to express the things that are most important to us. During adolescence, we're learning how to integrate the beliefs and the experiences of our early childhood. And through this process, we articulate what we want and do not want based on how much we know of our own needs and desires and how worthy we feel of receiving them, the things that we want. During this time, we're called to use our words and express and create. And yet, if we feel inhibition towards expressing our innermost feelings, we may find ourselves repressing them more than expressing them. Adding to these blocks, we might come up against pressure to be seen as highly competent and responsible, which causes us to adapt our needs and want to fit in rather than stick out, right, and comply. We end up complying in those situations. So somewhere along the way, you may have lost a connection with your own needs for recognition, for feeling self-esteem, for authority. And this phase of evolution and understanding has a lot to do with fully stepping into your own sense of yourself and your power as a creative and expressive being who can do what you set out to do. So it's about having greater confidence in yourself, your own voice, your ability to competently manage your money wisely. And once you're able to see your life through the lens that anything that others have completed is simply evidence that you too can accomplish it, no matter what your past or current circumstances look like, you realize the importance of speaking your truth and being focused on the desire you have to live in alignment with your purpose. And then also that further compels you to make a more meaningful contribution to the process of managing your money and making an impact in the world. And the more you do this, the more power you gain to create that which is most important to you. So when it's balanced, you feel a healthy sense of significance and responsibility. This helps you say yes to life's opportunities and possibilities and no to the things that aren't important to you, that don't fit with your values. As a result, you're trusting yourself and others more because you're so confident in your ability to ask good questions, to sort through the people that can help you, the people that want to kind of take advantage of you. You're able to just know intuitively and also from your own sense of self that this person is really truly got your best interests at stake or not. Some of the quotes that I came across that relate to the throat chakra, Ray Dalio, billionaire, he said, most likely your associates are equally reluctant to point out your mistakes because they don't want to hurt you. You all need to get over this. More than anything else, what differentiates people who live up to their potential from those who don't is their willingness to look at themselves and others objectively and understand the root causes standing in their way. So you can feel this, like, I'm going to be brutally honest with myself, and I'm going to recognize the things that are holding me back from expressing my truth. Oprah said, I had no idea that being your authentic self could make me as rich as I've become. If I known that, I would have done it a lot earlier. David Bach says, many people plunge into all sorts of detail about what they want to accomplish, what investment they should buy, and where they want to be, without first making sure they know where they stand now. John Bogle, the founder of Vanguard Investments, said, it's amazing how difficult it is for man to understand something if he's paid a small fortune to not understand it. That'll give you some food for that. And Mark Cuban from Shark Tank, right? What I've learned in these 11 years is you've got to stay focused and believe in yourself and trust your own ability and judgment. So that's what it's all about with the throat chakra, really stepping into that. So the story that I'd like to share with you about the throat chakra that I feature in the book is with Rod. And Rod first came to me. He was a mess financially, mostly because he wasn't able to earn as much from his business as a spiritual healer. And he was only getting by because he just had a very up and down relationship with money. He had earned like big windfalls in the past, had done real estate investing. He had been able to pay back over $250,000 in debt over a 3-year period, yet still he did not feel like he was trustworthy with money. Over the years, he had found himself repeatedly facing situations where he'd hit rock bottom and have to depend on others to get by financially. And it happened so many times that all he could think about was it was just a matter of time for him to have trouble again. When he started this process, I Prosper, that's featured in the Mindful Millionaire book, he started to notice that it was time for him to make some big changes. He needed to learn how to take better care of himself. He was also falling in love with the love of his life, and he wanted to be able to feel more comfortable in his ability to earn money and to manage the money and hold on to it. And so what happened was, early on in the process, he confirmed the suspicion that I had, that his belief about not trusting himself with money was the thing that was causing him the deepest problems with it. And it was creating this painful pattern. So as he started to look back into his past and notice that he had a lot of guilt and shame that he was holding on to that kept him from being able to express the things that were most important to him. It turned out that early in life, his alcoholic father began a process, probably around the age of 7, of manipulation and sexual abuse that had created deep wounds inside of his being. Even though he remained close with his father over the years, he knew that the self-doubt had his way. It was like he was seeing the world through this filter of not being enough, of self-doubt, of not being able to speak up about things that were most important to him, feeling this sense of silence in the throat chakra. And as he started to see where these patterns had come from and learning how to understand and accept himself and his past choices and forgive himself, he also opened the door to this deep sense of forgiveness to his father. He had done a lot of work already, but he didn't realize that there were still aspects of this abusive relationship that was holding on tightly. And through the process of absolute, complete forgiveness to his father for what had happened and to himself, he was able to create this influx of love and joy and bliss beyond his wildest imagination, just in the ability to create deeper intimacy with himself and with the world around him, which happened secondly. He felt like a whole new person. And he actually was able to speak with his father after the work that he had done on his own kind of way of seeing the world, and made amends with his father in just the most incredible way. He had no idea that his father was actually going to die within, I think, 6 months of this process of healing. But it allowed him to hold space for his father with such love and compassion and expression of truth that you can only imagine how that works, right? If we feel that way and someone's passing, it's completely different than when someone we care deeply about passes and there's still these feelings of lack of forgiveness that we're holding on to, or resentment or blame or victim in any way. So as he made this switch, he was able to turn back towards his business and his coaching practice and his relationship, and pretty much everything got better. You know, people could feel the shift in him. He created a podcast and started to share more about the shame that he had been holding on to and his release of it, which attracted more people to his message and gave him opportunities to serve more people. Also got engaged to the love of his life, and really stepped into this new phase of life of what it means to allow creative expression to flow through you. So some quotes on the other side that caught my attention. Susie Orman said, "You must trust yourself more than you trust others. Pay attention to your inner voice. It will tell you if, how, and in what you are doing with your money is right for you." David Bach said, "Don't ever put your entire financial fate in someone else's hands," right? Because we want to be careful about not abdicating responsibility with our money. And the throat chakra is all about taking full responsibility for our money. No one's ever going to care as much about your money as you are. So you take the responsibility, and then you bring in partners to help guide and make better decisions because of their knowledge, right? So it's a big switch. Tony Robbins said, "Change your story, change your life, divorce the story of limitation and marry the story of truth, and everything changes." Warren Buffett said, "The most important quality for an investor is temperament, not intellect." You need a temperament that neither derives great pleasure from being with the crowd or against the crowd. So, right, being able to stand in your own truth. And Abraham Lincoln way back said, "The best way to predict your future is to create it." And so the throat chakra allows you to create the life that you're wanting to live. It's about trusting yourself and allowing that to blossom into this sense of significance to help you have this long-term view, and to also be patient with yourself, because the turning of the ship can take time. That you don't have to know all the answers of how to change things, but you do understand that as you're learning about the throat chakra, you're stepping into greater responsibility for yourself. A few things to keep in mind is that none of the chakras work independently, right? You might already be noticing how they're linked together, how they all have some component of your money story, and the imbalances in one are likely to affect the imbalances in another. And so, you know, our ability to be strong and powerful is going to relate to the root chakra, and then having a sense of power, right, in your solar plexus. And our sacral creativity is going to connect into our throat chakra and this expression of that creativity. And the list goes on. So what you can do now is take some time to pause and lean into the many ways intuitively you can think about how you could trust yourself more. And where in your life is there an absence of trust? Self-trust. You could journal about it, notice what comes up. You can ask yourself this question again and again. Just be with what appears. Watch the movie of your life, you know, the drama that's taking place, and see where you haven't expressed yourself in areas that are important to you and how that relates to self-trust. Notice how you can take greater responsibility in your results, and how you're ready to, you know, take some risk, to fail if you need to, if it means that that's what it takes to try on some things for size and see what helps you to grow and speak your truth more. Number two, you can allow yourself to pause and accept where you are, create a feeling of spaciousness, acceptance, and to allow your relationship with money to pivot if that's what is calling to you. And then number three is take some time to notice your relationship with money from the expression lens. Are you worried that you don't know enough about money and investing to take steps to help yourself? Are you worried about being taken advantage by others? Or maybe you don't think about that enough and you're too trusting and you need to take some time to question that. Think about the advisors that you currently have in your life and think about how your relationship has played out with them. Are those on good terms? Are there some things that you might need to say to them to have the relationship be more expressive from your side, not just from them, selling you a product or telling you what to do, but might be more of a communication back and forth, and how can you do more of that? So, altogether, this provides you with optimal conditions for your own growth and expansion. And you can listen to my throat chakra meditation available in the show notes and take some time to listen to this podcast again. Now is a great time to go to your favorite bookseller and get a copy of my book, The Mindful Millionaire. It's available online, pre-order, offline bookstores, and it will come out June 16th, 2020. And if you haven't taken my money and chakra quiz, you can go to wealthclinic.com and it will help you see which chakra you're most likely out of balance with right now. But again, they all work together and we're probably working on all seven. So thank you so much for listening today. Namaste.